Welcome to another episode of Theological Pipe. News, culture, sports, politics, and everything else from a theological perspective.
It's all summed up in love.
What should I do? Tell me. God is good. Give it to me, give it to me, give it to me, give me peace. Give me peace.
Put that in your theological pipe and smoke it. Hey, welcome to another episode of Theological Pipe. Back in the studio, and by the studio I mean in my garage. Was doing a couple episodes driving home, and so now we're going to have like no car noise. It'll be nice. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe, like, comment button. If you're on Apple or Google or Spotify, subscribe there. Appreciate everyone listening. We're going to get into it. We're going to talk about a few things at the beginning, and then we're going to get into maybe some like recollections of 9/11 tomorrow. I'm recording this on the 10th of September. Tomorrow's the 19th anniversary of September 11th. The terrorist attack, so thought maybe I would just kind of share a little bit about that and how it's changed everything. But I wanted to talk first about LA, Los Angeles in California. The number of cases and the hospitalizations in LA County are way down. If you look at some numbers that were published today, if you go on Twitter, you can find them or search on, go to Google, Bing, Yahoo, whatever search engine you want, DuckDuckGo, and you could search for them, and you can look at the cases and the hospitalizations. They're way down in LA County. And there was a conference call, and the L.A. County Public Health Director, her name is Dr. Ferrer. I think her first name is Barbara Ferrer. She had a conference call with teachers, public health officials, nurses, and they were discussing when are the schools going to reopen? When are we going to allow students to go back into school? A lot of places around the country are, letting kids go back to school. Some of them are giving them a choice. Some are taking like a couple days on campus, a couple days off. But in a conference call, and there's recordings of this, again, you can go look them up. On the conference call, they were asking, hey, when do we think we're going to reopen schools in Los Angeles? When are we going to allow students to go back to school? The cases are down. The hospitalizations are down. Things look pretty good in LA County. When are we going to go back? And in her talk with those people, she had a couple quotes that people are, talking about, and just the way she said it was strange. She said they're not going to reopen until after the election, and that was a quote, after the election, which is a weird way to say the beginning of November. She had the election on her brain, and so a lot of people said, hey, it's just a time frame, so a couple months, 6, 8, 10 months, whatever it is, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever. So she said after the election, and then she was talking again, and she said, we're not going to reopen and not going to think about opening until when the election, until when we're done with the election. And so 2 times in a call, she mentioned that we're not going to open up the schools until after the election. And of course, that makes people's, ears perk up. People say, wait, we're basing opening up the schools until after the election? So if it goes the way you want, you're going to open. If it doesn't, you're going to close. You're just going to wait till after the election because it's a good issue to have. And so it was really strange, a strange way to talk about reopening schools in LA. And again, a lot of people are commenting on it and sharing on it, and you're going to go to social media, you can see it. Her name again, Dr. Ferrer. What a stupid thing to say. Even if that was your case, even if that was your agenda, and I don't think it is, but I'm just saying, even if you were saying, we're keeping the schools shut down until after the election because we think it's going to help or hurt the person that we want to win. You don't say that out loud twice to a room full of people that Zoom, you can record that kind of stuff. Of course it's going to get leaked. And I just thought that was strange. And LA is just not having a really good couple weeks. LA County and all of California, they're dealing with rolling blackouts. Because it's been pretty hot in Los Angeles, and there's some fires that are ravaging the place, and of course everyone blames it on global warming, or climate change, even though it was caused by a gender reveal party, which is just those things. I despise those things. So if anyone takes any stock in anything I say, and you can agree or disagree with me with a lot of things, please can we all agree that gender reveal parties are just stupid. And that's what caused these fires that they're having in Los Angeles or in California. But LA County and California, they're dealing with rolling blackouts. So they're having to shut down the power. They're rationing power. They're telling people, hey, it's 3 o'clock. Turn your air conditioner off. Put your fans on. Shut your major appliances off, which is just really, that's what we do. They're dealing with that. They're dealing with riots. They just a few weeks ago canceled Halloween, or a few days ago canceled Halloween. LA County canceled Halloween, and I thank goodness the sheriff of LA County said, yeah, we're not going to enforce that. But LA, they again, rolling blackouts, fires, riots. They cancel Halloween, and now they have the public health director playing politics with when they're going to open schools again. So LA, man, you need to get your act together. California needs to get the act together. It's just what a weird thing for someone in education to say out loud. And I've said that before. I said we need our leaders, we need people in education to be better. They need to be above politics. They need to be above all this agenda-driven stuff, and just teach our kids. Teach our kids the thing. There was a meme going around that says, if you're a teacher and your students know what your political affiliation is, you're doing a bad job. You should just be teaching them to think for themselves and not trying to indoctrinate them. And I've said that before. There needs to be free speech, free thought, free exchange of ideas. You need to have the conservative point of view and the liberal point of view and the libertarian point of view, and all points of view need to be welcome. And if you're a teacher, if you're an educator from any grade, from kindergarten through college, if you think it's your job to convince people that your way is correct, I think you're doing it wrong. The job of an educator is education, not indoctrination. And so we're having that, and we're seeing that politics and agendas are taking precedent over doing what's right for the kids and doing what's right for the country. And so we need better from education, because education works. And I've told you before, my politics, depending on the issue, I could be liberal or I can be conservative depending on the issue, and maybe even the day when someone's talking to me. But education, man, is important. It's one of the main tools, one of the main weapons that we have in this country, across the world, in the world, to bring people from where they are to where they want to be. It helps poor people rise out of poverty. It helps middle class people rise up into the upper middle class or even higher. And it lets people go to where they want to go and do what they want to do and take care of themselves. These are a couple stats that I found, that GDP, the gross domestic product of a country, is going to increase. There's studies that show that it will increase by 14.6% if all the students in a country are brought up just to basic mastery level skills. So they have basic knowledge of reading, writing, and arithmetic. If you bring it up to that level, you're going to see an increase in GDP, because those students are going to go out into the workforce and they're going to work, and they're going to work effectively, and they're going to start businesses, and they're going to know how to deal with people, and they're going to know how to innovate. And because of that, you're going to have a 14.6% increase in GDP just by bringing students up to the basic skills that are needed: reading, writing, and arithmetic. And that's pretty amazing when you think about it. And it's also pretty sad because we're not there. I've said before on other podcasts, the average reading, the reading level, the grade reading level of high school graduates, not high school students, people who graduate high school, they get a diploma, they've graduated. The average reading level for a U.S. high school graduate is 7th grade. 7th grade. So high school graduates are graduating on average with a 7th grade reading level. That's horrible. Now, there's reasons for it, but we can do better, and we need to do better. And if we invest in education, if we push education, and not indoctrination, education, and we can bring people up, the economy is gonna do better. The country's gonna do better. There'll be less crime. There'll be less all the things that we don't want. There'll be less of, and all the things that we want, there'll be more of. And that's a good thing. There's another study that said the global return on investment for schooling is 10%. So if you invest money, if you put money into education, you're going to see a 10% increase in your investment globally. That's across the globe. Graduation rates increase when education spending increases. Okay, graduation rates increase when education spending is increased. And the higher level someone gets in their education, we know that it means greater earning potential, And we know that it means when the economy goes south, that the unemployment doesn't really affect the people with the higher level of education. The higher degree you attain, the more money you're going to make, and the more likely you are to keep your job when the economy starts to suffer or has a contraction or has some sort of dry spell. So the higher education that a person can obtain, a high school graduate, an associate's degree, bachelor's degree, master's degree, professional degree, doctorate degree, technical degree, all those things, the higher education you can attain, the more money you're going to make, the more likely you are to keep your job. And again, that helps the economy, that helps society, that helps the culture, that helps everything. And so education is important. We need to spend more money on education. Again, the higher level of education, greater earnings, less unemployment. And there are other studies. This one, you can look at different studies, but the ones I've seen, for every $1 that you spend on education, the economy will get a $3 to $6 boost from that $1. So spend $1, the economy gets a $3 to $6 boost in education. So it shows that spending on education works. Okay, and I understand. I know the arguments. I know the conservative arguments about, well, we give money and most of the schools are left wing and they indoctrinate students. I get it, but we can fix that. But again, any dollar that you spend to education is going to increase people's education. It's going to increase their chances of graduating, which is going to increase their earning potential, which is going to help the GDP, which is going to help the economy, which is going to help culture, which is going to help society. So we need the best people in education. We need to spend more money in education. So even though when it comes to spending, when it comes to taxes, I would consider myself a conservative in terms of I don't think we need to raise taxes anymore. I don't think we need to spend more money on all these programs, except when it comes to education. If there's a bill, and I live in Oklahoma, if there's a bill to increase funding for education, I'm a yes vote every time. Every time. And if they're going to and the government misspends money, the government mismanages money. That's just what they do. And I want people in there that are going to help fix that. And I want people that are going to clean up the system. Yes. But if we're going to mismanage money, I'd rather it be mismanaged for education than some silly project or from some silly pet project for some congressman or something like that. Mismanage it for education and start being accountable. Start opening up the books. Start doing things right. So for education, again, I go back to that lady, the lady that was in education, the health director, about schools opening, being political. Don't do that. Don't politicize education. Don't use our kids as pawns in some agenda driven on either side, right or left wing. Don't do it. They're kids. Teach them. And when you teach them the basics, reading, writing, arithmetic. Teach them how to, let's bring the 7th grade reading level maybe up to 12th, because that's what it should be. When you graduate high school, you should read at a 12th grade reading level. And when it comes to education, spend. Decrease spending other places, increase it with education, because education works. I mean, there's other things we can do to help. We can, strengthen the family. We can encourage people to get married and stay married. All those things are true. But when it comes to education, which is what I'm talking about now, we need to increase education spending. We need to take care of our students, and not just in the really good school districts, across the board. And I think we need to stop demonizing people that have other ideas when it comes maybe to school choice. When it comes to private schooling, when it comes to charter schools, when it comes to school vouchers. We need to look at everything, because right now the school system is not doing a good job in the United States when it comes to, again, I just use the reading one. There's other things. You can look at math scores, you can look at honor scholars, you can look at we can look at a whole bunch of metrics, but for me, the reading one is important. If you can't read, you're not going to be successful. And the high school graduate in the United States reads at a 7th grade reading level, the average one. That means there are some that read at 12th grade and college level, but that means there are some that are lower than that, 5th grade, 4th grade, and they're getting diplomas, and we need to change. We need to fix this. And so I think everything needs to be on the board, and we need to spend money to improve schools, to improve education, all that kind of stuff. And I think we need to do it together. And again, it's a shame that it becomes a partisan fight when it comes to that. And I think if adults, if leaders would get together, they can fix those things. So I hope they do that. And I hope people like this Dr. Farrar stops playing politics with education. And I hope that, when it comes to opening schools and spending on schools and teaching our students, we're not indoctrinating them, we're educating them. We're helping them think for themselves. We're helping them attain higher levels of education, because it's going to help everyone in the long run. I don't know if that's a theological pipe moment, but that's my moment. The other thing I was going to mention before I get into the 9/11 recollections or reflections, there's a movie on Netflix called Cuties, and I'm sure if you're on social media, you've heard this probably. I'll just say this: it's evil, and leave it at that. Don't go watch the clips if you haven't seen the clips. Don't go watch the movie if you haven't seen the movie. Don't get into arguments with people who are there's actually movie critics and some left-wing people and progressive people defending the movie. It's 11-year-olds and 12-year-olds just being nowhere near to 11 and 12-year-olds. They're acting like 25-year-olds, and it's sexualized. People are calling it pedophilia. It's really, really kind of just sick. Number one, that it's out. Number two, and if you followed it, you knew that there was a poster for it, and it was kind of sexualized with these kids. And Netflix apologized and said, "Hey, no, this won an award at Sundance, and the poster was bad, so we're going to take the poster down. But the movie, no, it's okay." What they didn't tell you is that the guy that runs Sundance was, arrested for, having sex with a 9-year-old, I think. So I don't know that saying it won an award at Sundance is any big like, ooh, that's a great thing. But people were saying it doesn't make a difference. It's sexualizing kids, and they're like, no, wait for the movie to come out. Well, the movie comes out, and it's worse. It's worse than the poster, and so it's evil. Shame on Netflix. Shame on that director. Shame on people that are minimizing what's going on. They're defending what's happening. They're reviewing the film and saying it's a great film. No, it's not. It's evil, and it should be called evil. You shouldn't sexualize 11-year-olds, 12-year-olds, regardless of what they think they're doing. It's just evil and it's wrong. So Cuties, if you're wondering what it's about, it's just an evil film that's sexualizing kids that doesn't need to be out there. So, man, I think this country, in a lot of areas, we need to take hard looks at ourselves. Again, when it comes to using kids as pawns, when it comes to education, using kids, sexualizing them to put out a movie and then defending it. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's a sexual. I don't know if like the sexualizing of it is the right word for it. It's just it's really bad. And like I said, you can go watch clips if you want to. Again, I would recommend not doing it, because you'll just feel dirty and you'll feel like, what is going on in this world? So yeah, let's stop using our kids as political pawns. Let's stop using the virus as a political movement thing, and let's just start being smart, and let's grow up, and let's do the right thing. And again, with education, I think education is the key, but man, we got to fix it. We got to fix the way we're graduating students with horrible reading levels. We've got to raise expectations, and we've got to start teaching the basics and stop indoctrinating our kids and start educating our kids. So for the next few minutes, I was just going to say, tomorrow's 9/11. I remember it vividly. I had two. We had two kids. I was married, had two kids. My 4 or 5-year-old at the time, he was going to like a preschool, and we had a 1-year-old. And at the time, I was a youth pastor at a church. My wife was working, and she was getting ready to leave for work. I was getting the kids ready. I was going to take one of them to, take the kid to the preschool and then come back. And as we're getting ready, we see we didn't see the first plane hit. We saw the Twin Towers, one of the World Trade Center buildings. It was smoking, and they're saying, a commuter plane might have hit, or a small plane might have hit there. We're not really sure what's going on. This is strange. And so I remember, that's really weird, and I remember taking my kid to school, coming back, and by the time I came back, the second plane had hit the tower, and they show footage of it, and at that point, everyone knew that this is a terrorist attack, and I can remember just being just in awe, like not in awe, but just numb, and it was surreal, and it just didn't seem like I was watching something like real. Like it just, I was born in New York, and I lived in New York for 10 years. My first 10 years I lived on Long Island, and my first 10 years we never went to New York City. We just never did. We moved to Oklahoma, and then every year we'd go back to New York to visit family, grandparents, aunts, uncles. And it was when we went back in those first few years that we went to New York City. I remember going to the top of the Twin Towers, standing on the observation deck with my grandfather and my cousins and my brothers and sisters and mom and dad. And I can remember watching, being up there looking at the city. And as I'm watching it in Oklahoma so many years later, and I'm watching the planes hit, and you watch people jumping out of the windows, and you see firefighters and first responders and police officers and ambulances. They're running to the place to try to rescue people, and you're getting all this information, and then all of a sudden a plane hits the Pentagon. And then you hear about another plane crashing in Pennsylvania, and in the midst of that, you when the first tower fell, it was just, like I said, I can't even explain the emotions. There's just a numbness to watch it fall, and then the other one fell, and you're just thinking like, what is going on? And they were talking about this is a terrorist attack and we're at war, and you're thinking, are there more attacks coming? Is this going to go on across the country? Is it safe to go out? Should I go get my kid from school? He was only there for half a day, so at noon I was going to go pick him up. My wife is at work, and we didn't have cell phones back then. We're I don't know if we had the pagers, but we finally got to talk, and I'm like, this is crazy. And she came home, and for the whole night, we're just watching TV, like almost not even speaking to each other, not even knowing what to think. And I can remember, Bush coming out. I remember them showing Bush getting told, that this happened, and him sitting there, and then him, coming out and responding. And I can remember all the aftermath. But man, 9/11 just shook, not just me, but it was one of those things where you just felt a collective. I can't even put it into words. You just felt that everyone was feeling the same thing. Anger. And I think not even anger I think fear was the biggest one. Like, what is going on? How could this happen? Is this the end? Are they going to attack again? Are they going to attack other places? How did this happen? What are we going to do? What's the response? What should I do? What can we do? And it just was the oddest feeling that day, watching those things and then rewatching them and then rewatching them. And then they show a different angle. Then they show another angle. Then they show another angle. And you're just like, it was just strange is the best way to put it. I can't even put words. Every emotion, every negative emotion I felt, and I think the country felt. I think the world felt, and it was brutal to live through it. And to know that at that moment things changed, and they're not the same. I mean, it's 19 years later, and things are still not the same. We're still dealing with the repercussions of that, and there's positives and negatives that you can talk about, and you could talk about, should we have gone here and done this and taken this guy out and killed this guy and searched for this guy. But if you think about this, I think just today or yesterday, Donald Trump said he's going to bring some troops home from Afghanistan. They're there because of that event. They're still there, and he's going to bring a bunch of them home. And you think about 19 years, it doesn't seem like that long ago, but it's a long time ago. It's a long time ago, and it's just something that the phrase I always never forget. We really should never forget this. And one of the things I hope, which I know I'm hoping in the dark or wishing in the dark here, but it's going to be the 19th anniversary. Tomorrow there's going to be people sharing that stuff all over the place, and of course I know what's going to happen. It's going to be political, and people are going to pick sides, and people are going to tell people they're being xenophobic, or they're anti-Muslim, or they're too rah-rah, put a boot in your ass, Toby Keith American. I get all that, but man, I hope that by doing that, it just people can remember, at least the people who are old enough can remember what it felt like for the next few months, for the next 6 months to maybe a year. Man, we were united as a country. all the other stuff was nothing. All the other stuff went to the side. All the petty stuff went to the side, and we started to unite, and we were united, and we were like, yeah, we may have our issues, but you come pick on us. We're going to unite and come together, and we did. And I've said before, one of the greatest presidential moments in my lifetime was George Bush on the rubble with the megaphone, and that really kind of galvanized the country together. And then I said another great moment from his presidency was when he threw the first pitch out at the World Series, a few weeks later. Those are the kind of things I think we need, and I hope it's not some tragic event like that that's going to bring us together. I hope just smarter people can say, you know what, yeah, we do have some issues in this country. But when you really look at what we're dealing with compared to what other countries have to deal with, I've said before that in the United States of America, our poor people, our people that are living in poverty, are still in the top 25% of the richest people in the world. We are blessed as a country, and some of the issues that we fight over, that we make these incredible issues. Really, when you go to other countries or you look at other countries, you realize how blessed the United States is. And so maybe if you're thinking about 9/11 and you were alive and you remember what it was like out in the aftermath, you can say, you know what. I'm going to forget about all this petty stuff, and I'm going to, I'm not going to fight with the Democrats who I disagree with or the Republicans who I disagree with. I'm not going to call them Nazis or communists. I'm just going to disagree with their policies, and we're going to be friends, and we're going to get through this together, because that's what we need. We need that right now. But like I said, just remembering 9/11, it was just a surreal. Even now, it just doesn't feel like it was real. And it just doesn't feel right, and doesn't feel. It just felt like a movie, and it was a strange feeling, for weeks, and weeks, for years, right? And again, we're still dealing with it. We still have the ramifications of that kind of stuff. If you fly, if you go overseas, a lot of the things we have to deal with. So, hopefully the phrase "never forget," when we have that phrase, for the people that lived through it, and again, I lived through it from afar. I wasn't in New York. I didn't have loved ones that died from it. I didn't have, even though I lived through it, it wasn't like I was, right connected to it, but the whole country went through it. And so if you went through it, you can just remember that phrase, never forget. And it was never forget, to me, never forget how we came together as a country, never forget how we bonded and we united to heal. We united to get through something that was really, really bad and really, really horrific and really, really terrible. And we need that now. I don't think what we're facing right now is on that par. I know more people have died, but it's a virus, and that can be another discussion for another day. But there's not like really an enemy. It's an invisible. I think Trump has even called it the invisible enemy. It's a virus. But beyond that, just the disunity sometimes, and the politics and the agendas and the indoctrination and playing. We need to get over that. And so maybe tomorrow, even if it's just a few people that kind of say, "Hey, never forget how we were united, and we can be united again." So yeah, 9/11. I know watching that, it's one of those things like I don't want to watch. But then when they start replaying it, I just get glued, because it just brings back all those memories and that just odd feeling. And I think that's, like I said, every emotion, you can say I probably felt it, except, not glee, not happiness, but every negative emotion, fear, anger, confusion, disillusionment, numbness, all that stuff, and constantly over and over and over again. So again, I know it's not going to happen because I'm a pessimist, I guess, but I'm an optimist and a pessimist. I'm an optimist that, things are going to be okay. As a Christian, as a believer, I know that we win. I know the end of the story. But as a pessimist, I know that the news media won't do it justice tomorrow. I know they're going to spin it. I know they're going to try to find some quote that Trump said to make it worse, or they're going to try to find some spin for Biden to make it worse or better, again, depending if it's Fox or CNN. Fox is going to cover it one way, CNN is going to cover it another way, when really what they could do is just say, hey, do you remember how we were together? Do you remember how united we were? You remember how we rallied together because we needed to do that? Let's do that again. So maybe for a day, we can stop the fighting for a few minutes. So I guess put that in your theological pipe and smoke it. 9/11, never forget. When it comes to kids and education, yes, yes, yes. We need to educate students better. But again, we need to educate them, not indoctrinate them. And I think we can start moving in that direction when it comes to education. We can start teaching the basics. We can start teaching students to think for themselves and not have a professor that's going to say, you have to think my way, and I think Reagan's the greatest president that ever lived, or you have to think my way. And there's very few of those professors in college or even in high school, or professors that think, hey, Bernie Sanders should be president. He's the greatest, the Bernie bros. And there are quite a few of those in college. Maybe you'd say, listen, this is how I believe, but here's the other beliefs, and both sides are okay. Let's work together because we do live in the greatest country that allows people to have their different beliefs and their different systems and their different ideals, and they could work together. It's funny that the people that call themselves the anti-fascists are the one that are trying to silence the people that they disagree with, which is what fascists do. And it's funny that, the people that react to the way they react, they're trying to do the same thing. Well, yeah, you're going to try to shut us down. Well, why don't we shut you down? Well, how about we act like adults and come together and treat each other like adults and agree to disagree on some issues and work together. Especially, like I said, 9/11, never forget. We should remember how united we were. So thanks for listening. I hope, have a good rest of the night, and we will see you next time. Have a good one.
I want you all to know that America today is on bended knee in prayer for the people whose lives were lost here, for the workers who work here, for the families who mourn. This nation stands with the good people of New York City and New Jersey and Connecticut as we mourn the loss of thousands of our citizens. I can hear you. I can hear you. The rest of the world